There's people here generally struggling, what's on the streets, what are English people, and they're laid there in London, everywhere. And they need looking after the same as what all the immigrants and that do.
I think the problem with Rishi Sunak is not because he's a very clever man, he's an economist, he's worked in the city and everything else. He understands the economy, but he hasn't got any compassion for the people who are at the very bottom.
Because there's a lot of people out there struggling, and they're giving too much, to my opinion, they're giving too much to all the illegal immigrants and all the people coming across who seek asylum.
Around here there's not a lot of opportunity for like work and stuff, and for me I've been lucky enough to try and make my band as full-time as possible, so in the sense of work it doesn't really affect me, but obviously it's still the prices do.
The government's terrible. I've been a member of the Labour Party all my life, so I will say that anyway, but no, I don't agree with a Conservative look at the ideology, whatever.
The cost of living crisis is pretty appalling, to say the least, and it was very much an own goal. And yes, Brexit did take its part in that, yeah, of course. Yeah, I certainly don't buy it, it's a Ukraine thing, not at all.
Sadly, it's all down to the war in Russia and the Russians, and personally, I'd like somebody to take Putin out and fix it.
You say it's all to do with Putin. Is there nothing that the government could have done to offset?
It's down to oil prices and the fact that he's got full control of the oil. At the moment, there isn't another source of the heating.
Do you trust the government to do something about it?
Oh, absolutely not. This is a right-wing government that serves only the very rich. It's not. We're seeing issues now with the millions of pounds given to the one with the PPE.
Baroness Moon.
Yeah, it is absolutely shocking. These things have got to be addressed. It's the wealth divide that's a problem. We've got a situation where, when I was 18, I bought myself my first house. It was £9,400. It was a 3-bedroom semi. Kids nowadays at 26 would dream of having a 3-bedroom semi as the first house.
I'm 26. I'm dreaming of that.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, but this is what we had then, and we've got to remove the wealth gap. We've got to have a situation where people are better empowered, a much broader middle class, and we do have to tax the very rich and stop all the tax loopholes.
How are you feeling about the cost of living crisis?
It is difficult, to be honest. I am experiencing it myself. Even like. With other families, but I think it's not going to be that bad as expected.
Again, what can they do? The government, they're stepping in and helping as much as they can, but they can only go so far, can't they, with it all? But it is hard if people struggling, what's got kids and families and what have you. It's hard times, very hard times.
Actually, people are now more expectant of the government to provide some of those things, so I'm not saying that's an issue, but for the generation before them, like my generation, I felt it was my responsibility to provide for my wife, provide for my family, provide for my kids. Now I've got grandkids, to do the best I can. That's not available to everyone, and I just worry that people are expectant of the government to help them rather than dig yourself in. So I understand both points of view, and I can't give a view, I guess, either way in that, because I don't understand whether people's opportunities are the same. I was just lucky as a guy with no skills, bit of a chancer at the end of the day. I was very, very lucky to go into the thing. I'm very, very lucky to have fallen into a time where I worked in the banks in the city for 30 years, and that was just lucky that I had, it's only recently I've discovered that I had a pension that I never had to chuck into, that will support me for the rest of my life. I don't know how long I've got, but my fortune is my wife's fortune, my children's fortune, and everything else. So, but that's luck rather than any great skill or merit or anything like that.
Do you think people like Rishi Sunak and other MPs understand what life is like for people in places like Boston?
They don't, because they've got too much money. They just, like pay rises. Look what pay rises politicians has had. What about the NHS? All they do with the NHS is throw money at it. It's not doing any good at all. It's no good throwing money at something. They need proper management what understand what's going on to sort the problem out. There's too many people at the top of the ladder, like we always say. There's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Politicians, they're getting paid too much money for what they're doing, sat there in the Houses of Parliament falling asleep, aren't they? I couldn't fall asleep if I was up on a scaffold laying bricks. End of story.
What do you think about the government at the moment?
Oh, I hate the government. I can't lie to you. It's one rule for one and one rule for everybody else, and it's kind of, the government for me is just, it's not the one.
What message would you tell them if you could?
Can I swear? Sort your fucking shit out. Just sort yourselves out, stop preaching on and bleating on about how we're going to change this, fix this, do that and do the other, and then not do it, and then wonder why people are pissed off. Obviously, when it was COVID and, politicians were having parties and obviously giving us one rule and then sort of completely doing whatever they want to do. So, and, it's no wonder that people were, fucking really pissed off about it. So, yeah, politicians, they're just, coked up posh boys that think they can run the entire planet, and it's just like, what?
I think the problem with Rishi Sunak is not because he's a very clever man, he's an economist, he's worked in the city and everything else. He understands the economy, but he hasn't got any compassion for the people who are at the very bottom. It's just not irrelevant to him because of his background. You need to have some sort of empathy for those people and understanding of how they live on a day-to-day basis. So he needs to get down to this level and meet the people and understand what is going on at the grassroots level with the people in this country. That's
What would your message to Rishi Sunak be?
You've not been elected. You've been pushed in there by the people who control the Conservative parties. These people are offshore. They don't pay any British tax. They are the ones who contribute to the Conservative Party and push into place who they want to speak for them. Rishi Sunak, I think, is a very wealthy person. Well, he's more interested in keeping his family wealth together than he is for the wealth of the ordinary person in the UK who's now suffering. Some parts of the UK, so I'm told, with a lady that I met, a nurse, are suffering malnutrition. Well, what's that due to? It's not because of excess income, is it? It's because a lot of people are suffering, and I think 2023 will be a landslide towards the direction we're going, which is downhill, and I don't think there's any stopping this.
Help the people that need it, not just the rich, because there's a lot of people out there struggling, and they're giving too much, to my opinion, they're giving too much to all the illegal immigrants and all the people coming across who seek asylum. They can come across on a boat, and they are doing, and they're putting them in hotels, and everybody knows this. It's all on Facebook, it's on social media. They're putting them in hotels and housing them. There's people here generally struggling, what's on the streets, what are English people, and they're laid there in London, everywhere, and they need looking after the same as what all the immigrants and that do. And that's just can't understand why it's not happening.
I've become, 20 years ago I was very cynical about this country and how it was all going. Now I'm proud of this country because of the people in it, and that includes all the Eastern Europeans and everybody else. I was personally almost moved to tears when the Ariana Grande concert bombing led to that One Love concert in Manchester, and that almost brought me to tears now, because I saw all those people from all those different cultures all getting together. What links us is more important than what tries to tear us apart. And instead of going around burning mosques, people were cuddling each other and telling them they care about each other, and that's so special. And they're all British. And my little boy, he's 8 years old and he's half Turkish, but the first thing he learns in school, he goes to school with his 70 different nationalities, the first thing they're taught is you're British. Doesn't matter where you come from or who you are, you're British and you're one of us, and it's all inclusive. That's what happens in Croydon, and perhaps we should have a little more of it happening up here as well.